Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Believe in Eagles. Here we go. Eagles, Giants, they're going to play San Francisco in the NFC Championship game. We know that now. We broke down the win over the Giants yesterday here on Believe in Eagles. Today, we'll get a player's perspective on what they saw in the game, plus the matchup with the Eagles with NFL tight end Colin Thompson from the Carolina Panthers. He's a Jersey, Philly guy. Knows these teams well. Actually was in camp with the Giants a couple of years ago, but obviously can give us a look. They played San Francisco this year. He's seen tape on this team and give us some insight on what the Eagles are about to face in the NFC Championship game. So let's bring in Colin Thompson to Believe in the Eagles. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
It's great to see you, bud. Back doing radio with you. It's some of the best times of my life, honestly. So it's been a blast. Hanging, seeing what
you're in the NFL. This is his best times were with me, though.
Hey, listen, the NFL, that's been a blessing in itself. That's a separate chapter. But this radio chapter, sitting here in my studio in Annapolis, you've had a lot to do with it. So it's been a blast. You always gave me a chance to come on your shows, go air, sit in with you. So we've done a lot of stuff. It's been a blast, man.
Tell the people, Colin, you do have your own media conglomerate yourself. Tell the people where they can find your stuff, what you're doing, because, yes, you are playing NFL football at this point, and you're also doing some stuff on the side.
Yeah, so, waiting to see what's next for me NFL-wise on that from that perspective. We'll see what's going to transpire in Carolina and some other teams possibly. So I'm up for a contract this year, just a free agent. Got kind of released at the end of the year, like every guy that was on the practice squad. So that's the football front. The media front, yeah. So started out for long media when I got cut from the Giants in training camp. Ben McAdoo era, and who was our OC this year, and I absolutely freaking loved him. After I did not like him, I told him that because he used to rip my ass as the rookie tight end. That coach is really good football coach. He blew me away. He's one of the best football coaches I've been around. But I digress. I got cut from them at emergency appendectomy. NFL stands for not for long. Boom. There's not for long media. That's how it started. We have 6 shows, kind of our own little media network. We're constantly growing, evolving, changing, looking for more, doing different things. So that's where we're at. I have the Colin Thompson show. That's my personal show. And then we have a bunch of different shows that check off a bunch of boxes for us. So,
well, your people know my number and have them call my people. All right.
I will.
All right. You mentioned Ben McAdoo. We had Clay Harbor, also a tight end, last week. He had said that Brian Daboll was the smartest football coach that he ever played for. And he played for Andy Reid. He played for Bill Belichick. He played for Sean Payton, Dan Campbell, and he lauded Daboll. But what I want to ask you is about coaching and how it could close the gap on talent. I like Daboll. He was the guy I wanted the Eagles to hire, but they did not look ready for the matchup on Saturday night. Was that game more about the Eagles and where they are, or more about the Giants and where they currently are?
That's a great question. I think it's more about where the Eagles and they are. Players over plays. I went over the Eagles and Niners roster on my show. They're the 2 best rosters, or at least my 2 favorite rosters. I don't want to sit here and rank things and do different things and make predictions because it's probably not good as a current NFL player to do that. But they're my favorite rosters in the NFL. They're just built up front. They're built with high-speed talent on the edges. They're built with guys that can get after the passer in key situations or all the time if you're Hassan Reddick and Joey Bosa or Nick Bosa, whoever Bosa's in San Fran. So, I think it's more where the Eagles are. An unbelievable year from the Giants and what they did. We lost to them to start the year early on, a big field goal in New York, a walk-off situation from them. That's a team that's tough. It's a team that's rugged. That's a team they're built kind of to last, and that's why you saw them hang around. They beat, Tennessee. They're beating like these big physical teams. But that high-flying offense of the Eagles was hard to stop, and the high-flying defense of the Eagles was hard to stop. They're going to have their will. They're also coming off a bye week, which I think everyone says, rest over rust. I'm sure you talked about it on the show with your shows. But really, to me, it's always rest when you have a veteran team like the Eagles do with Brandon Graham and Lane Johnson. I mean, these guys were drafted when almost Andy Reid and Chip Kelly were there. So my point to it all is I think it's the players overplay, especially in the playoffs,
You just mentioned you played the Giants way back, week 2, I think it was.
Yeah.
San Francisco, you played in week 5. Kind of a different San Francisco team. But, Colin, kind of take our viewers through what you saw on tape from San Francisco and what you just said. That's one of your favorite rosters. When you watch them on tape, you're in an NFL tape room. What are your coaches pointing out about why they are so good?
Well, I'll start on the offensive side of the ball, their offensive side of the ball. And, in the prep week, if I'm a tight end, we're not watching their offense. We're watching the defense. But we do so much similar tape. So what teams run against teams that we play or teams run across the league, and I watch their tight ends every week. So I know their offense almost like the back of my hand. My buddy Mike McGlinchey, he's got a house down in Wildwood there. There's a lot of Philly connections out there with the Niners. So I know Mike too. So I follow them. But I watch their tight ends. I watch their fullback. I watch high flying offense.
What's that?
Yeah, well, they run them and they keep them alive. And there's a lot of them in the league that are really good. Like the fullback position may be dying, but there's like 10 of them that are really freaking good in the league. So if you're good, they'll find a role for you. My point to that is, though, Niners offensive perspective, you're going to see a lot of outside zone. You're going to see a lot of tacking the edges. You're going to see a lot of motion, a shifting, things that may look the same week to week, but a completely different play out of it. You're going to see an offense that's not afraid to run the same play, the same play in a row, and then rip the play action off of it and hit you for 60 because Kittle can catch it at 4 yards and go for 25. Deebo Samuel on jet sweeps, Deebo Samuel running back, Christian McCaffrey on jet sweeps, Christian McCaffrey catching screens. He's unbelievable. I think he's the best player in the NFL along with Bosa on their side of the ball and Williams. They have like 8 blue chip players. So offensively, what you're going to see is a lot of movement. You're going to see a lot of play action. He's going to put the ball in the belly of the back. He's going to pull out of it and rip a play to Ayuk, who's a really good player, I think, too. They have a good offensive line with McGlinchey and Williams on the edge and Brunskill on the inside, who's been playing a lot for him. So I like what they do offensively. A lot of movement, a lot of shifts, a lot of motion. Defensively, they play that old wide 9 that everyone's like, what is that? Why do we do that? Well, they do it because they have the personnel. They do it because they have the personnel to do it. And they try to decapitate the tight ends, and they try to just dent the edge and set the edge with push up the middle, and they have the guys to do it. And their backers can run and hit. So Warner and Greenlaw, like into coverage, like serious runners and hitters. So front 7-wise, they don't get much better than that. And then the back end, they have, young players that have stepped up for them. They have Pro Bowlers. I mean, the roster-wise, you're talking about both sides of the football, one of the best, if not the best in the league. They have the most players in the top 100. Explosion on both sides of the ball. Tons of physicality. D'Amico Ryans, I know the Eagles know those fans too. He's up for head coaching jobs. Houston, where he plays, a place he's interviewed too. So both sides of the ball, Mike, you're seeing high-flying, potent things that are really both well coached, but also have great players.
All right, I had something else I wanted to ask you first, but you brought something up that I had on my list, so I'll go to that. You mentioned the wide 9, they get pushed up the middle. I thought the Eagles' interior beat up the Giants. The Kelsey, Dickerson, Sayamala won, and the Eagles 268 yards rushing because the interior of the line is so athletic. They're able to do so much. Kelsey gets hands, and then he busts out, and he's able to hit second level, but Dickerson's able to finish that block off. They're just so good in the middle. So how do you kind of look at the Eagles line, which is top 2-3 in the league, up against what you just talked about in that San Francisco front? The game's won right here.
It's a great point, Mike. I think it's going to be the chess match of how the OC for the Eagles is going to handle things. If you watch the run game for the Eagles that week, when things were getting kind of out of hand a little bit and the Eagles were running the ball at will, they were spreading them out. They weren't grounded and pounded them. So if they can actually pass to set up the run and they have to cover the full field, that's tough to guard the Eagles. You saw it with the Giants. Those holes were massive. It was like 9 yards, 10 yards. It's nothing to do with the Giants defense. It's just like, hey, how can you cover it all? And the Giants' best part of their defense is those front guys. They have big boys up front. So you're right. I mean, it's going to be interesting. My prediction of how it's going to go is it's going to be
hold on on that.
Well, no, not the game, but just how it's going to go up front. I like Sayamalu, Dickerson. They're thick. They're big-bodied boys. Sayamalu's played a lot of football. He's been here for a while. We were locker mates at the Under Armour All-American game together.
Wow, how about it?
2012, our head coach was no, it wasn't Steve Mariucci. It was Arizona State. What's his name?
Herm Edwards.
Herm Edwards, great guy. Loved
Yeah.
Herm. So I just like the veteran group up front for the Eagles. I think getting Johnson out of there before the end of the game was a good idea.
All right. You play in the league, so I know you're not going to give me some hot take on this. But imagining players in the locker room when getting ready for San Francisco are wondering, when is Purdy going to make a key mistake? Is it going to happen? Is he playing at a level where he's not making a mistake, or our team's not capitalizing on his mistakes right now?
I think the third part to that, Mike, is Kyle Shanahan putting him in situations for him to make mistakes. 3rd and 9, they may hand the ball off. They may run a jet sweep and a toss play with Williams pulling and Juszczyk and Kittle leading the way, and you can argue that's a better situation than dropping back to pass. So I think Kyle Shanahan is the piece of the puzzle for this whole thing, right? Like, and it's no secret, right? Like, but he is the guy who drives that bus, and he's got now a lot of pretty toys to do that bus with, especially adding Christian McCaffrey. So I don't think, Mike, it's going to be interesting to see. Probably never played in an environment like he's going to see on,
How does
Sunday.
that change things? How does that change things
Yep.
for a guy like this? Okay, he's never seen this environment. I mean, the guy's playing flawless football. I mean, he's making some plays where he's missing, but he's not turning it over. Like you're saying, he could have made that throw, but he didn't turn it over. I thought the throw he had to Kittle. I mean, Kittle makes a great catch, but still, he's on the move to his left. And he had another throw. He ripped one in there on like a 3rd and 9 to get a first down. I mean, he has flashed some stuff, but what is different about you're playing the game in San Francisco in your environment, and now what he's about to face, because you know what it's going to be like in Philadelphia. So how is that different for a guy who doesn't have a lot of experience?
Well, there's a lot to unpack, Mike, when it comes to the crowd noise. I'm going to start with the team and then go back to him. Kittle is one of their most depth. I mean, he's the best blocking tight end in the NFL, in my opinion. He's the most explosive player in that position in the NFL because he just does so many different things paired with how they do their offense. He gets wide open a lot. And it's crazy, that play he had the other day, he wasn't even supposed to do that. That's like a cardinal sin. That's like a little cell outside zone to the right, just kind of open up, drop step, pivot, and wait for the ball and be a late leak for the quarterback. He hits the gas, runs the field, and like he's just boom for 30. That's what makes him great. I would never do that because it's like, nope, that's not our job. But he's like, I'm George Kittle. I do what the hell I want. And there you go, 30 yards, a highlight catch. But I digress. You can't hear the quarterback. So if you're a tight end offensive tackle, you're not going to hear the quarterback. The guards and the centers are going to hear him. So they're a little late off the ball. How does that affect the run game? If you're a tackle and you're running outside zone that way and they're trying to hit that or a truck play or whatever, a toss play, they're easier for it to set the edge if you're an outside backer. Because the guys aren't on you as quick. If I'm at home, you can jump the cadence. You see it all the time. You're like, ooh, that offensive lineman looked off sides. No, he's not. He just was a tick before the ball. Jason Witten was the best at it. He would just jump in and get on the guys before they can even get out of their stance. And all of a sudden, Jason Witten, who's physically limited compared to like Boza, he was blocking the hell out of them. So that affects the whole offensive line play. It won't affect the wideouts because they're looking at the football. They're not hearing the cadence anyways. And then back to Purdy, I think he's okay. He's pretty mature. I mean, you could tell his maturity, right? You could tell how he handles things. You could tell the respect and leadership. I think Christian McCaffrey came out and said that he's one of the, you would never know he's a rookie, which is credit to Purdy. But I'd also add to that is like, if he does make the mistake, which it could happen, if the team, a fumble happens or God forbid, for them, can he get, snap back into place on the road in a tough environment in a really important point? So that's going to be the measuring for me, is like how he bounces back when things go wrong. Because sometimes they will. And that's why this game is really hard. So how's the fans going to affect him when things go awry is what I'm looking at.
Yeah. I mean, I said, look, we're either watching the start of like the next Tom Brady story that we don't know yet, because every 20 years you have like some story like this. This guy's story is unbelievable, or reality is about to kick in. And that's not to say that this guy can't play in the league, but he has played near flawless football to get to this point. So it's pretty unbelievable. Look, this is the last time he played Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy had 5 touchdowns in that game. Hurts won the game, but Purdy, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Oklahoma beat Iowa State 42-41 in a Big 12 game. So there's our buddy Kevin Kincaid pulling out the research on that one. But I don't know if I expect a 5-touchdown game from Brock Purdy, but I do want to talk about the other guy. Did Jalen Hurts answer all the questions? Did he show everything in that game to make us feel that this guy is healthy, ready to go, and can withstand 2 more games?
Okay, Eagles fans. The hell Jalen Hurts hate at one point in time, and I'm not saying there's hate because of his injuries. To answer your question, Mike, yes, he showed he can withstand. Right, he was being smart with the football. He's pulling the football. Now the Niners know, hey, listen, this guy could pull the football. Adds a whole another development to the read action game. The squeeze scrape, meaning the DN's going to play the run and the backer's going to scrape over the top. So if he pulls it, he's there, was huge. You saw it this week, and he still made guys miss, bounce it, and slide down. So to answer your question, yes, he's ready to go. He looks great. It's 2 more games. The bye week was massive for him. So there's that. But the next point, I want to know why Eagles fans thought that this guy wasn't going to do what he did this year. Like, why on sports talk radio in Philly, and I get it, got to pay the bills, that people really sat there and said, this guy is not going to be a Pro Bowl type quarterback. Is he the future? Are you kidding me? Listen, the track record of this guy is ridiculously good. The leadership values of this guy are incredible. Let's go back to Oklahoma and Alabama. Let's go back to what Nick Saban says about him. Let's go with what the Stoops said about whoever was at Oklahoma at the time. I forget. But my point is, this guy's track record's great. Well, I get questioning it. It's a part of sports, but he's gotten better at his weakness every single year. The guy is trending in a ridiculous direction. And then leadership quality wise, relatability wise with teammates, players, coaches, fans, does it get any better than that? So is it the answer? Yes, he's ready to go for the Super Bowl run. And also, yes, he is the franchise quarterback. You got to pay him.
Yeah. Oh, I said, and I said Nick Sirianni, I'm sure Jalen's agent, she has to be smiling ear to ear to hear the head coach say, we've got Michael Jordan on the field. Hey, you just called my client Michael Jordan. I'll take another $10 million. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no doubt.
Colin, listen, nobody thought Jalen was going to be an MVP candidate. I was willing to say, look, I saw enough from him last year that I want to see. Here's my thing. I knew that Jalen was a hard enough worker that the things he needed to work on, that he would work on.
That's my point.
If he was going to improve on that from that work. But then the Eagles went out and gave him the tools to be better, getting A.J. Brown. They already had a good offense. So adding Brown really changed the dynamic. They had an offensive line. They have a great tight end. They have a great number 2 with Smith. Sanders has been outstanding. And having the pieces, I think Daniel Jones will be interesting to see if the Giants can get him something. If I had to decide between Jones and Barkley, I'm letting Barkley go, and I'm getting weapons for Jones. If I had to choose between the two, you're raising your eyebrows. The quarterback showed me he can play with lesser talent.
You got to keep both of them, but yeah.
Well, if you can. I'm saying if I had to choose one.
Okay. I hear you.
People don't like to pay the running back in this league. You know that.
Yes, they do. They do not. So it's a great point. I just have been like, I hate to be the money quarterback, and I just can't give my thoughts publicly a lot until I tell my guys. I'm like, hey, this is what I think is going to happen this year. And I thought Jalen Hurts was going to be an MVP conversation. I know Monday morning quarterback, but just because, again, how I know what I know about him behind closed doors is really good. And then what you just said, the work ethic, and then the really good point you brought up, Mike, was the people they surrounded him with. The team was already built, ready to rock.
Yeah.
And then you add this guy in, this warrior, this Michael Jordan type worker. He's not just saying Michael Jordan type player. He's saying he knows what he does behind closed doors. That's why he says it. So, yeah.
All right.
I'm a huge fan of him.
Couple quick things. The Niners secondary against the Eagles pass, because if the Eagles run the ball, and let's say the 49ers sell out on the run and say, you're not running the ball on us, the Eagles can beat you in a couple different ways. All right, you want to take our run away? We'll RPP on you. How's that sound? Can the Niners secondary hold up against A.J. Brown and Smith. Where do you give a check mark there?
Well, it's an interesting point, Mike. I think there's a lot to it. Yeah, can the Eagles run the ball well enough where they have to bring that safety down? I forget his name right now, the Polynesian kid. He's an absolute stud from USC, I believe, the rookie. He made the Pro Bowl this year. Really good player, very active up in the box. So you're right. Are they going to come up in the box and then AJ Brown and the kind of the host of guys they have there? So I give the tilt to the Eagles on that one. And it's really not. It's more of, can the Eagles O-line hold up against and the pass protection and the play action pass, and can they run enough to slow those DNs down? And then also you're gonna have to chip the DNs. You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to be ready to beat their pressure. They're gonna surprise you. They'll bring it right off the edge. The safety will just come right down and just boom, hit it on his own. So, I hate to say one or the other. I just think it's accumulation of can you protect long enough? Because Joey Bosa, in my opinion, is one of the best players in the NFL.
All right. So people don't like John Gannon here, the Eagles fans. I like Gannon. I think he's a smart guy. I like their defense. Is it frustrating? I say they don't like – it's not that they don't like –
You got to blitz, Mike. You need to blitz more.
You're right. It's not that they don't like Gannon, I say. It's they don't like today's style of the game. I had Malcolm Jenkins on a little while back, and he said any coordinator worth their salt, they don't want to have to blitz because if they're blitzing, that shows – that they don't have enough talent and they need to hide their talent having a talent deficiency by blitzing. You saw the Giants. They blitz a lot. Why? They don't have a whole heck of a lot of talent on that side of the ball, so they have to come up with creative ways to get pressure. The Eagles don't need to do that, but do they need to do it this week?
Yeah, and the Giants one's interesting because of Wink Martindale. He's like a notorious pressure guy. Like you're playing the Giants too. It gives you, I'll say this too, when you're facing teams that bring pressure like that, cover zero, where it's just, everyone's coming and everyone's just man to man about 8 to 10 yards off the ball there, and they're ready to jump on the short breaking routes because they know the ball's coming out or he's going to get sacked. That's a lot of preparation with protection meetings. It's a lot of preparation with signals and checks and things like that. So that's what makes it even harder when you play those teams. But if you run the ball and you can get them out of it, you can't really do it. The Eagles have to do more of it this week. I think this is such a gap football, boring football week, guys, because it's you have to be ready to defend the entire field against the Niners. I mean, they are going to run wide zone, the outside zone. They're going to run fullback trap. They're going to run old school stuff, new school stuff. This is the premier offense in the NFL, probably along with Kansas City and the Eagles. So to answer your question, it's going to be a boring game this week. You're not blitzing anybody. You're just have your linebackers reading their keys and play, because it's not the offense the Eagles run with the spread out RPO, and that works. It's great. It's perfect for him. It's way different. It's old school, just like his dad ran it, with some more fluff to it.
Yeah. All right, Colin, I want to close out with which guy on the 49er offense? They got a lot of choices here. If you are John Gannon this week, which guy on the 49er offense are you saying this guy is not beating us?
Oh, it's a great question. Because Shanahan does a great job hiding them, Debo and Christian. Oh, you're running back this rep, your receiver this rep, you're getting running power this rep, and then the next rep we're running toss, and then the next rep we're going to run a go ball. I think it's Christian McCaffrey. Debo too. That's really hard to pick. I'm a huge Christian. I'm a big fan of Christian. I'll be biased, right? Because I know him very well, and he's an unbelievable person, and then a ridiculous football player. I think you try to stop Christian McCaffrey, and you really try to stop the run game as best you can. When you play the Niners, it's stop outside zone.
Yeah.
And then you have to have the backers and the knowledge to read out of it when it's, hey, this is play action footwork by the offensive lineman here. I got to put my foot in the ground and know that Purdy's getting out of the pocket here. Purdy's pulling up. They're protecting him because the ball's out so quick too in the play action game. Boom, Ayuk over the middle, and those little glance routes killed us in Carolina.
At the end of the day, though, I agree with what you're saying, because at the end of the day, if Brock Purdy throws for 330 and 3 touchdowns, you shake his hand and say, dude, I didn't know you had it in you.
Yeah, and it's really tough, Mike. It's a great question. They have so many guys. Kittle's is ridiculous, but you can't stop him. It's just you can't. It's a different receiver than different player than like a Kelsey who's lined up as a wide out, and you can try to jam him. And
what do you do with him? You have Kaiser White, TJ Edwards, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Don't know if Maddox is going to play, But who do you like? Who's
Probably
the guy?
Chauncey Gardner. I don't know how they're going to go about it, though. It's really tough, Mike.
Right.
I don't think
So
you can.
Colin Thompson, for those people watching who don't know, you're an offensive coordinator for a local high school in these parts.
Yeah.
You're designing the Eagles offense this week. Where are you saying this is the spot of the 49er defense I'm going after?
Well, I'm going to do what we do. I'm going to just continue to do what we do and see if people can
Yeah, but
stop
the
it.
Eagles do a lot. That's the
I
thing.
know, but they really do. What they want to do is get in shotgun and either. And
Okay, let me ask you this then. Are you focused, Colin, on running the ball this week and having that be your identity? Or are you saying if we're going to win this game, it's because we're taking shots down the field and the big play will win us this game?
hold on, Mike. I got someone knocking on my door.
All right. Got someone knocking on his door live in show here to get the answer to this question here on Believe in Eagles. This is what happens. You get insight like this. We're having a great conversation, by the way. So when we get this back, we got the answer to the question now. All right.
Sorry, Mike. The had the chimney worked on here at the house and was coming down this basement to let me know that the chimney is done.
Chimney's good.
Okay, go back. So what are the Eagles going to do? They do a lot of things.
All right. So if Colin Thompson is Shane Steichen this week, is your week of practice saying we want to be physical and we want to run the ball, or we want to take shots down the field and win with the big play?
Oh, I wish it was that. I just don't. Those
Who's
conversations.
that Lower Cape May, that kid who's going.
I think
who's recruited. You throwing him the ball this week. You hand it off to your running back.
Braswell Thomas has got a bunch of offers. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's got a bunch of people visit him too.
Shout out Braswell.
Yeah, Lower Cape May Regional.
You don't see that often. Lower Cape May getting refed in the college D1 game. Matt
Mhm.
Caesar, last guy, right?
Yeah, he's going to get a lot. Archie Lawler had a little, couple of smaller spots, but ended up going to Carnegie Mellon. I think it's a really good question. It's not that simple. I wish it was. I think in the radio world and in like the outside world, it's like, well, the Eagles really try to feature the pass today. It's like, well, what'd they give them? So long story short,
Right. This is great stuff for the viewers. Middle of the game, you guys wanted to run the ball. They're not letting you do it. You guys sit on that bench over there. Bob McAdoo, we can't run, dude. We got to do something. Is that happened? Like, because we talk about halftime adjustments, and somebody the other day said halftime adjustments is the biggest myth in football. If it doesn't work for 2-3 series in a row, you just go and say, "Yo, coach, they're taking that away from us. Let's get out of it."
Yeah, I think so. But here's the bottom line: the Eagles' system is all based off running the football. Like, don't anybody fool you. Like, it's like 3-4 yards and like read option and all that stuff. So I don't think it's like we're taking shots down the field. Everybody wants to say we're going to run the ball to set up the shot play. That's what everybody does. It's explosives and turnovers, right? Equals
That play in the game the other day, second play of the game. First play, they handed off to Miles Sanders, innocently enough. Second play, Smith crosses the safety right across 40 yards down the field, and it was like, we got the whole bag of tricks here, baby. So the Giants, I think, from that play on, were just like,
it's different though. This would be a way different defense.
Oh, I get it. But they showed we can take shots down the field on you. But you're right. It's all different.
It's all going to be based off how you run the football, Mark.
AJ Brown was not a big factor last week.
Yeah, I don't think he's upset about it.
Be a little bigger factor this. He might need to be a little bit bigger factor this week.
Yeah, I think it's going to take. I think again, your strength of your team is up front, and you got You got to run it and then go from there.
Colin Thompson, NFL tight end. Colin Thompson's pick: George Kittle or Dallas Goedert.
Oh, George Kittle. I mean, I love Dallas. It's not even a question.
Hey, listen, I think Kittle's great. He was on my fantasy team this year. He got off to a slow start for me, but he ripped it when Purdy got in there.
It's not fantasy football, though. The world of football is not fantasy.
I'm just saying. His numbers weren't George Kittle-esque, and late in the year, he was beast mode. But I think Goddard gets lost in the sauce a little bit. I think he's on the same plane as the Kelce's, Kittles, and he's there, but people don't recognize him because the offense. Look, in Kansas City, they don't have anybody else to throw the ball to.
Okay, and I personally thought I don't even think Travis Kelce is a tight end. I think he's a Hall of Fame receiver. First off, and then second off, I think Dallas would admit that George Kittle's better than him. George Kittle is like.
Oh, I'm not saying he was. I'm not trying. I'm saying I think Dallas deserves to be in the conversation with those.
I think he's in that next tier. And that's a really good tier. Again, this is not a disrespect to Dallas. I'm like a fourth or fifth tight end in the league on every roster. Like this is let's not. People at home are like, this guy's probably a loser.
No. See,
How many?
you're the kind of guys that break down this stuff really good.
I watch a ton of it. Here's the thing. In the night, you can't talk about numbers with George Kittle because in their offense, they have so many weapons, they spread it out, and it's not like they just line up and like, here we go, I'm going to throw it to this guy. They run the play action game. If someone takes the deep over in the play action game, because he always runs those over routes, then he's dead. He may have no catches, but he may affect the game crazy.
Yes. Well, and I think that's the same.
He blocks so well too.
They didn't have early in his career, they didn't have as much, so his numbers were astronomical. Then they started to get guys, and then similar to what Goddard's going through now, where he's like the third option in that offense. So his numbers.
I don't even believe in options because it's like the end of the day, it's like, where's the one-on-one matchup? That's where they're going. What's the best matchup? If they're going to bracket A.J. Brown, they're not giving him the ball. It goes to the next guy.
Yeah.
Like that's the league. It's all just like the NBA, right? I'm not even an NBA fan. I watch it sometimes, but my point is it's one-on-one. We're going to get to the guy. We're going to pick and roll and create the switch. And then that's how it's going to go. So we're going to motion shift, do these different things to get these guys one-on-one in the red zone or one-on-one here. Kittle can do everything these other guys can, but nobody can block like George. So that's why, to me, I think he's number one in the league. Everyone else is below him, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm like number 1,000 at the bottom of it. Dallas
one touchdown.
That's
Colin
right.
Thompson.
I think Dallas Goedert, for the Eagles fans at home, is, yes, very underrated tight end. I think he's one of the most complete tight ends in the league. Along with Kittle, there's very few that can do both at a high level. Dallas can do that. So I'm a
Dallas good blocker.
I'm a huge Dallas Goedert fan, but I just think George Kittle, and I think Dallas would agree, is
last question. Okay.
Yeah.
You've played in the league, so you know these little circles. Does Nick Sirianni give the ball to Boston Scott because he's aware that Scott always rips the Giants? Like, is he in on the joke? He's got 10 touchdowns against the Giants, 11 now. I mean, he's in on the goal line in that situation. He gives the ball to Boston Scott. All year long, he never. But whenever they play the Giants. So is he in on the joke? Is he like, anytime touchdown, people, I got you?
Well, I'll say this. I think if there's any coach in the league that would be aware of what's going on with him scoring against the Giants, it is Coach Sirianni. He is dialed in, man. And he is like, you know what? He's like almost like petty and like, you guys are talking smack about this coordinator and this player. Watch this. I'm going to give the ball. I'm going to feed the narrative. So I think media's got to love him, right? He's great. So I wouldn't be shocked. No, Mike, if all the coaches in the league, he knows.
I was on multiple Giants shows last week, and they all asked me about Boston Scott. Why? Why is it Boston Scott all the time? And then sure enough, they're in the red zone, and there's a handoff to Boston Scott. I said, dude, Sirianni, he knows, man. He knows. All right.
It's out. He knows it. He's good, man. Sirianni's unbelievably fun. Unbelievably fun.
All right. Colin Thompson, not for long media, spent the last, 3 seasons in Carolina with the Panthers. And broke it down for us here. A really good breakdown of Eagles and Niners. And you only get that here on Believe in Eagles. All right, Colin. It's good to catch up, man.
Hey, man. Sorry about the interruption from my chimney guy, but
special appearance from the chimney guy.
Yes, no free shout outs.
Can I credit him in the credits?
No, they can sponsor the show. Well, absolutely will, Mike.
All right, man. Thanks.
Cheers, buddy.
All right. That's Colin Thompson from the Carolina Panthers, and he was kind enough to join us here on Believe in Eagles. All right, I'm Mike Gill. That's it for me. I'll be back throughout the week. I'll give you more insight on this game. And, let's go Birds. We'll be back with more this week. Check out Believe in Eagles on the Believe Network. Have a great one, everyone.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.